Incoming message.
It was the dawn of the third age of mankind. Groovy.
Hi-ho. This is me, Kermit the Frog.
Hello there.
Moopsy.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Not a great plan.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Let's see what's out there. Engage.
Hey there, we're those Sci-Fi guys, and this is those Sci-Fi guys show. Just two working dudes, different lives, different jobs, but a whole lot of love for science fiction and the fun that comes with. We are your hosts. I am P.S. McKay, fresh from Halloween and straight into Christmas. No Thanksgivings or what's about it.
I'm TT Cavman, and I always celebrate, quite prevalently, the two holidays in between Halloween and fucking Christmas.
It's bad. Like, all the commercials right now are all Christmas. Like, they didn't even wait for Halloween to be over. They started playing those commercials well into 3 days before on national television. Like, it's been like they really want Christmas to happen this year, man. I'll tell you.
Well, there's a lot of negativity, so I'm okay with some positivity, but I'm also like, give every holiday their chance.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, it's not even worth bringing it up. Someone had a funny thing about saying, I need Christmas and Thanksgiving to go back to their treaty agreements and Christmas to pull back to its original borders.
Yes.
Starting the evening of Thanksgiving.
It's there's a term for that. It's something to do antebellum.
Oh yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
No, there's literally like a term for it. That's basically how the War of 1812 ended. It was like, all right, everybody will just go back to kind of
back to our original borders. Yeah.
There's just no, nobody changes shit. It is what it is. You go back to where you start, I go back to where I start, and then we just kind of pretend that this didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, it worked out, except for the northern border of Maine. We made out on that one.
Well, some of it was just trying to square some shit away, really.
Yeah.
We had border disputes with the Brits for like another 50 years, but it was just it really was more of a let's just kind of roll it back there,
Mm-hmm.
But
no, that's
sorry,
fine.
Status quo antebellum.
There you go. Well, I can buy into that.
I couldn't remember that.
So how was your Halloween, man?
It was a little different this year. I did not go out with my little one. She's, hit the teen years and got invited over to friends' houses and on the other side of town, and they went, her and a group of other girls her age went out and, did trick-or-treating in and around that neighborhood. So Mrs. Cavman and I, this was actually Mrs. Cavman's idea. She's like, well, we had put some railings on our porch, on our steps going up to the front door.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially for safety, like in the winter when we have people coming over and there's no handrails and you can slip on the ice. And it was just all designed to be useful. But you know what it's like when little kids are rushing to get the candy and they're elbowing each other out of the way. So she's like, let's just park it in the driveway. We'll just, throw. So what I did was, rather than just sit in the driveway, which we did, but I grabbed out, we had it was a former like flower pot holder. Put it out between the two chairs. We have plug-in glow-in-the-dark jack-o'-lanterns, which we used to have like out in front of the house in a previous house. Took one, plugged it in, put it on the bottom shelf of that, put the candy bowl on top, cracked a frosty beverage, and my wife and I just hung out and enjoyed handing candy to the kids and seeing the costumes. A lot of people out with dogs. A lot of dogs in costume, a lot of adults dressed up. Most of them were with kids.
Yeah, we took our dog for that advantageous walk.
Before I went, I did stop by my folks' house because my sister and nephew were down and they were going to trick or treat around my folks' neighborhood. And of course,
well, that's the best neighborhood.
Right. Well, actually, right now it's where I live.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Not saying it's not. It's a good neighborhood, and there's not a ton of car traffic, but there's no sidewalks. My neighborhood is new. It's laid out well. There's sidewalks. You can see when vehicles are coming.
Yeah, sidewalks are key, man.
Out of the 40 so houses in the neighborhood, is like 35 at least participate in Halloween.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Not many kids in the old neighborhood, huh?
Well, it's of course, it was when my folks moved in there, it was an older neighborhood, and then the other families started moving in. So there's always generational turnover.
Yeah.
But the street I grew up on, the street itself, the same families are still there. So I mean, they have grandkids. They all have grandkids, but most of the grandkids, for the most part, live around here, so they trick or treat in their own neighborhoods.
No, yeah.
But I did swing by to see my nephew, and they actually brought a friend of theirs down. My sister brought another friend of hers and her son, and he was about the same age as my nephew, and the four of them went around, and they had one of those little wagons for when the kids' little feet got tired.
Yeah, nice, cool.
So it was kind of a nice Halloween for the most part.
Good.
Generally across the board, I actually got out at a relatively decent time in order to be able to go and see my nephew and then go home and still get set up for trick or treating. So it was a good one.
Good.
Sounds like you guys had a good time.
We did. We usually host, but since, with this, fall season is just crazy for us now because life's a different game when you have high school kids, man. Let me just say that. But so we went to the in-laws instead, and brought the dog. And I think this is the last year my son's going to be trick-or-treating. He kind of didn't want to do it, but he only did it because his sister needed him. We tried to arrange it so that we could have their friends come to our house, but It didn't work out. So we're like, well, if that's not going to work out, let's just go over to my in-laws and do that. And that was fine. That worked out nice. Had a good night. We had a lot of laughs, the four of us, and our dog had bat wings on the back. So that was fun. We're that kind of family. We dress up our dog for Halloween. And
I just told you, man, we had a lot of dogs in costume walking out of the families.
I don't remember a lot of dogs when we were growing up, like we treated dogs differently back then too. So
well, we treated them like dogs. We didn't treat them like people.
They are treated more. Well, I got a doodle. Doodles are basically people. They're not dogs. They're weird.
I mean,
So,
there does seem to be a bigger influx in suburban dogs. You know,
yeah.
the problem is like a good chunk of my immediate family are allergic, so that's why we don't have them. Plus, it was also there's in military families have a tendency to be of one of two minds. One, love the dog. Dogs all part of the family. So many of them have dogs and cats. Others are like, I don't feel right uprooting this poor animal all the time. It's like they'd rather uproot the kids than the dog.
Yeah.
And the problem is with deployments and with a lot of traveling and whatnot, it can be a beast. So I get it why some people don't.
No, I get it.
We were in a lot of rental properties. I was gone a lot. The animal would have been alone a lot at times towards as I started getting into back half of my career. But again, I'm allergic to dogs. Not heavily, like if I'm around a dog, but if I'm like at somebody's house like all day and like sitting in like their fur, it will start to irritate me a little, you know, a little, but
Yeah.
not a ton,
No.
and of course, some people are, more conscientious about that than others. And some dogs are more the ones that hop on you have a tendency to get me going a little faster than the ones that just come up to you, sniff your hand, maybe let you pet them, and then they go and do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah. No, true. I hear
I
that.
like
Yeah.
dogs. I just never really lived with dogs.
No, and
So,
it's hard to believe me as someone who lived without a dog for 24 years. It's very easy to live without a dog. It's like having a new child when you get a dog, like, because you have to think about it and take care of it in the sense of like, well, we usually travel, now we have to figure out what to do with the damn dog while we travel, and which was what we did this past weekend. So the very next day, at 8 a.m. we're driving to the pet resort to drop my dog off because we had to drive down to LA for marching band competition. It was in the docket. It's fine. So, but man, can I tell you, the night before being Halloween, and then the next morning we have to get up at the crack of F to drive down to LA. That's a haul. So
sounds like one.
It is, and this leads into our topic for tonight, everybody. But long story short, we take my father-in-law's truck and we drive down. He has a very nice truck. It's like 10 years old, but it's only got 80,000 miles on it. State of the art kind of thing. Very nice. I loved that. I love it. I love the truck. We didn't get into an accident. That we were fine. I said I loved that truck in a past tense because we don't know what's going to happen to it, but it didn't get into an accident. We get into Rancho Cucamonga. Everything was fine up until that point. As we get off the freeway and we're trying to find our way to the high school where the competition is, I noticed that the truck is idling really hard. I'm like, oh no, this is not good, because my truck was idling really hard, but it would do it on and off. I had a ghost in the machine. I think you remember talking to you about that.
I do. You were battling that sucker for a while.
A little while, yeah, because like I would bring it in, but they couldn't diagnose it because it wouldn't act up at that point. So,
well, it's like when you finally get an appointment with the doctor, and the problem isn't like super prevalent at the time. You're like, so you're saying you break out in a rash, but you don't, or it's like, you said your knee's been swollen and now you look like you're moving fine. Like, well, it took me 4 months to get in to see you.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Well, it looks like the problem fixed itself. This problem
you said you had some gangrene on your foot, but I don't even see a foot. What's going on?
Yeah. So I'm the only one in the car that notices it at this point, right? Like, and I'm like sitting there going, do I bring this up? Do I point this out? If I do this, that means I'm going to be the negative Nelly here. So I casually look over to the dash and I see the check engine light flashing, and there's no indication. And then we stop at another light and it starts idling the same. And that's when people started noticing. I'm like, okay, thank God. I'm like, my wife's like, Mac, wasn't this with your car too? I'm like, yeah, well, I had to replace the cylinder coils to fix that problem. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we find a place to park. We get out. We're like, okay, well, that's going to be another problem for another day. We got to go. So we walked. We were on a time crunch because we got there, and then 20 minutes later, my son's marching band performed. So we got there just in time, thank goodness, and we got to see the band. It was their only performance, unfortunately. They didn't get called back for finals. They made 13th out of they were 13th place, and they took the top 12. Can't win them all.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
But, as long as they went out and they gave it their all, they have nothing really to be ashamed of, right?
The competition at this place was just amazing. I mean, we're talking like pretty wild, very well choreographed, very well disciplined players. So there's no shame in where they placed.
It feels like everything is getting younger and younger, right? You're doing more and more, like kids are doing like sports that maybe most people only really started playing in high school are getting like, now they're on like traveling teams and stuff.
Yes.
At ages. Same things with bands, like, really, I mean, you had some kids who played instruments because maybe their parents made them or they wanted to, but really didn't get started into bands until really high school. But
yep,
the middle school my kid was in, only in the last 3-4 years, it started having bands all the way from 5th grade onward. And, now these kids who are, started in 5th grade, and you could hear progressions because like my kid did chorus and they would have these concerts and you'd go to like November, December chorus and band concerts, and the 5th graders are like, fighting to do hot cross buns for like 4 bars. And then, by March, they're like, noticeably better. And then, the years and years. And so these kids are going to be much more proficient as a band in high school, especially these kids who might be playing together through middle school and into high school.
Oh yeah. And it shows. It shows. Like, marching band competition out west is a serious thing. I cannot.
Well, you guys have space out there to march. We have trees and shit here.
Yeah,
man.
No, it's very true. It's very true. Just take a look at like Bands of America. They've got a bunch of videos online. I'm not going to share it here. We don't have time.
You can't do that anyway. Those are other people's kids, man.
Well, it's public. It's up there for Bands of America. I'm not
sure.
So you could go there, guys, but I'm not sharing it. So
we're not playing because they're not paying.
Yeah. So we had anticipated that. Oh, by the way, we hadn't eaten all day. Like we just left the house, made our way straight to LA after dropping off the dog. None of us had eaten. So we get there. Their competition was at 1:45. We got there just in time, and then there were only 3 bands left. So we're like, well, let's watch the next 3 bands, and then we'll see if we can qualify, move on, and then we could go get something to eat. So lo and behold, we're standing there. It's hot as balls, by the way. It was 89 degrees in Rancho Cucamonga that day. It was hot. I'm sitting here going, it's November 1st.
It doesn't classify as balls until it gets over 95 degrees per the military scale.
Okay, well, I've routinely experienced that too, living here. So, hot as ball then, just one. And so, that being said, we don't make the finals. Like, oh, okay, bummer. So let's go say goodbye to Mack Jr. and tell him he did a good job, because he did. You know, and you know, they'll get to stay and watch the bands. They don't have to worry about competing and stuff, and they'll hang out with their friends. So fine, done. For us, that was a happy little accident, because we're like, okay, well then let's just go get something to eat and then head to the hotel and relax. So otherwise, we were planning on staying at the school until like 10 o'clock that night. So we get back to the truck, which there was no parking at the school. We had to park in a neighborhood, and it was like a mile walk in that heat. I was a little concerned for my in-laws, I gotta be honest, because we were all hungry. Anyway, we get in the truck. I'm sitting here going, well, if it's a coil issue, it might not track this time. We can just turn it on, just like my truck did. It'll run fine, and we can just get to the hotel or get something to eat, whatever. Turns it on, works beautifully for 2 seconds, and then okay, well, we're all like, well, what do we do? We're like super far away from we're 200 miles away from home. So we're like, well, let's get to the hotel. So I plug in the thing, I guide them out. We maybe go about a quarter of a mile. We cross over an intersection, and I look in the mirror. There's white smoke coming out of the exhaust. I'm like, that's not good. We immediately
either you're having car trouble, or the Vatican within your truck has found a new pope.
They found a new pope, yeah. So we pull off onto a side road. It's abandoned. Like, it's not a sketchy neighborhood or anything. It's Rancho Cucamonga, right next to a school.
You are saying things that I don't really. I don't know. Like locations.
Yeah, well, it's fine. It's just, anyway, we pull.
It sounds like a fake name too.
It does sound like a fake name.
It's where like a cartoon name.
It's where Next Friday takes place.
Damn.
Yeah, exactly. But that being said, you know, we get out, we take a look. I pop the hood. The engine is just like rattling all on its own. It's incredible. It's not supposed to move like that. I'm thinking engine mount issue, cylinder issue, misfire issue. Hell, it could all just be, if it wasn't for the white smoke, I was thinking, hell, it could just be some spark plugs being an issue. But that engine was shaking so hard, it rocked the whole exhaust manifold all the way to the tailpipe, which was just shaking back and forth. Mm-hmm. Like, well, that's not good. Turns out probably a blown head gasket.
Ooh.
Which is not good either. So we're trying to call AAA. I call AAA. I make an arrangement for the tow truck to come out, and then they come. As we're waiting for that, it's where my in-laws are like, okay, so Mac, you take our daughter and granddaughter to the hotel, and I was like, yeah, I'll just call Uber. That's fine. So I called Uber. Uber got there first. The tow truck was supposed to get there first. It didn't. Mm-hmm. So we unpack all our luggage, put it into the Uber, and then we go. We say goodbye, and I handed my father-in-law my knife. I'm like, use this wisely. My utility knife. And
Mac, why'd you give me a butter knife?
I know, right? So I just felt so.
It could be used for
guilty.
peanut butter too.
It could be. It could, yeah. Jellies, things like that. I just felt immensely guilty leaving them by themselves, but I had to take my wife and daughter. So we get to the hotel, we check in, and then, long story short, instead of taking the truck to the shop, AAA is like, well, we can do a long haul for you. And they convinced the tow truck driver to haul it back to Fresno. Like that night from Rancho Cucamonga, a 222-mile drive.
Yeah, the question I get is, first off, how did you get back? And second of all, how do we get to our topic soon?
Anyway, so my in-laws were persona non grata and I'm freaking out. They finally get there. We've already
persona non grata means not allowed.
Oh, well, they were incognito. They were incommunicado. That's what it was.
That's better.
That's the one. They weren't responding to the phones. So I'm standing out in front of the hotel, pacing back and forth. They finally pull up in this big ass tow truck with their truck on the back. Shout out to Edwin, the tow truck driver. He was great. Nice guy.
Cool.
Took the truck. Luckily, we were near the airport, so rental car companies are open on Sundays at the airport. So
that's a big win.
Next morning, we Ubered over to my in-laws Ubered over to the airport, got a van, and we drove it on back home. And I haven't heard what the final thing is about the car, but it's probably a blown gasket and. Depends on whether he's going to buy a new one or just repair. Apparently, a blown gasket isn't too expensive. It's when you have to replace the coils, which I did, is when you have to start thinking about totaling the damn thing out. So,
yeah, at some point, it's like, you're like, trying to bail the Titanic with a bucket.
Yeah. So. Well, I chose to rebuild my engine, so that's what I did. It's still cheaper than a car.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. So I'll let you all know because I know you're but it was a hell of an experience. I'm tired. We're all hungry, and I'm
I don't blame you. That's a level of stress beyond what you were expecting.
Oh my God, yes. There's nothing worse than that.
Traffic, flat tire, all things that you can factor in. An elevated stress, but not, an escalated stress.
Yes, that's exactly it. And I was already elevated. I've been elevated, so that was just the icing on the top right there. But that brings us to tonight's topic. Why don't you mention it? Because I think you had the better title for it.
Well, without being, it was one of those dumbfound moments where, you were having conversations about discussion points. And I was like, this, you're telling me this story and I feel bad. I'm glad that things, at least you guys weren't in any, real serious problems. I mean, it's definitely a bad one to be stranded without a vehicle 200 miles from home.
Yeah.
But you were in a major urban area where you could go to an airport. You could use Uber. There's a lot worse places you could be stranded.
Yeah. A lot of things came to play. Oh, and by the way, it also was a kismet that our band didn't make the finals because otherwise this all would have happened at 11:30 at night. Otherwise.
Yeah, that's even worse.
It was still daylight for most of the time. And yeah, or we would have missed the second thing or whatever, but
which would also suck. So anyway, I brought up to Mack, I'm like, so something just, this clicked. I'm like, sci-fi shows and movies and franchises always have a breakdown episode or a breakdown part of the movie, right?
Yeah,
we want to talk about plot. Empire Strikes Back, for instance.
Millennium Falcon.
The Millennium Falcon cannot make, the hyperdrive is acting up. So they have to go find Lando and all the trouble that entails with that. But there's others. And it was a common one in Star Trek. Plenty of examples of it. But
TNG's Disaster.
Disaster is a key one. But you also have Babylon 5 has their own versions.
So before we just start listing these willy-nilly,
I'm just saying it seems to be a stock type of episode when you have these sci-fi franchises.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in most in procedural, it's like where somebody's trapped in a warehouse, and they don't get cell service. Always happens to a cop somewhere, right? Some detective, some law enforcement person. And I noticed this in procedurals where the clock's ticking on things like that. Right? How do you overcome them? So,
yeah, no, absolutely.
My partner's misfortune gave rise to a podcast idea.
A serendipitous idea.
Tonight, we're going to be talking about those kinds of examples in our favorite sci-fi franchises.
Well, let's just start off with, the jewel of them all, TNG's Disaster, because that's the one that's top on my brain.
It is.
It's an unusual episode, too. Because we normally don't see that. Go ahead, sorry.
No, that's one of the things I liked about it, is that there was a lot of, there were some different pairings. They had some strong performances from guest stars.
Mm-hmm.
Recurring characters on the Next Generation, who actually had, all of whom had good moments to shine in the episode. Plus, Picard facing his greatest fear:
children. Children. Gather around, children. Yeah, so what was it? They start off with like a day like everyone else. The Enterprise is operating just fine. Picard gets to show give a tour to these children who won essays. Was it essays?
It was like a science project or something.
Yeah, science projects on that. And and everyone else is going about their thing. Beverly's talking to Geordi about being in her play, and we actually see Geordi sing, I think, for the first and only time.
He was trying. Yeah, I think it was going to be another like Pirates of Penzance or something.
I am the very model of modern Major General.
Yes, that's all
I know. And they're in the cargo bay,
right,
doing this. Gosh, I don't
know. He's doing an examination of a supply of thruster fuel.
That's right, and he's got all that fuel in those canisters there.
Yep.
Troy is up there on the bridge with O'Brien and Rolaren, and Worf is in 10 forward with with Keiko O'Brien, who is
heavily pregnant Keiko O'Brien.
Yeah, super pregnant. What's the story with Geordi? I'm sorry, not Geordi. Data and
Riker are also in 10 forward.
They are.
But they eventually go off on their own
to try to
figure
out, if they can,
what's going on. Yep.
Mickey Mouse something together.
Right. Troy was, I think, on the bridge introducing Captain Picard to the children, and was still on the bridge when Picard turns it over to Lieutenant Lieutenant Redshirt, so to speak.
Yeah.
With Rowe and O'Brien on the bridge doing something. And then they get hit by this, whatever they call it, a quantum filament or something.
Yeah.
That hits.
I don't know. We
Enterprise.
Don't see it happen, by the way. We don't see it from the outside. We experience on the inside what everyone else experienced. So we have no idea what's going on. There was no objective point of view. It just suddenly everything gets shut down, and the Enterprise that we knew worked all the time really well wasn't working anymore.
Ship broken.
Yeah, shit's broken.
Alas, my ship, which I love like a woman, is disabled. It's a great line from Where No Fan Has Gone Before in Futurama, where the cast of the original Star Trek is being held hostage by an energy being who was making them read his Star Trek fan fiction
That's
script.
right.
It
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. So, we won't go too much into it, but everyone in there's one big story. There's no B story, and it's just everyone has an experience that or it could
Right.
be like 7 different stories
Well,
underneath
there's like
the big one, but
there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and eventually 5 separate groups of people that they cut back to, right?
yep.
And they're like all little chunks of the same story. So you're right. There is no B plot there, except there's stuff going on, right? Like Keiko goes into labor while trying to help Worf man things in 10 Forward. They're doing disaster relief. 10 Forward's become a like a central locating
Refuge
place for
zone.
that deck.
Yeah.
It's a triage center. Like Worf is setting some dude's leg.
Yeah. You'll feel a momentary sharp pain. Brace yourself. You handled that well.
I mean, he's very Worf throughout it all.
But who, out of all the people to help administer a birthing session, it was not Worf, you would think, but that's what we were given. That's what we were given.
For all the dire situations, there's some good humor in this episode, starting with Picard's discomfort with having to escort a bunch of tweens, like preteens and teens, to around, and like the youngest kid wants to go to the battle bridge, and he's like, no, that's off limits. And like everybody's wondering, like, oh my God, who should we feel more sorry for, the captain or the kids?
Yeah.
And then Picard's he's in the turbo lift when it hits, and the turbo lift is damaged, and of course he breaks his leg, and so now he's stuck with a bunch of crying children, who's like, oh shit, what do I do? And he manages to kind of, he starts trying to order them around and like yell at them, and that's not working. And then he kind of takes a different tact with them, and he starts he's determined to turn them into his crew, and he actually gets them to work together and do his plan. And the oldest girl, who was the girl from Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, he starts taking off pips and putting it on them. And so she becomes his number one.
Yep.
And and he uses the other 2 to give each one of the other kids one, especially with the young kid who he's like trying to figure out, well, you're the one kid's the science officer and you are the kid, because his science experiment was like radishes. He's like, you're the
radishes,
special officer in charge of radishes. He's like, cool.
Yeah, here are the kids still wearing their pips. This is after the ship got put back online, but and actually he played to his strength. He wasn't a father, but he knew how to be a captain, damn it. And so, but I never really thought about it like that.
He also, as a leader, particularly as you get older and you end up having some much younger people under you, and particularly for those who maybe don't have the best, we'll call it I don't want to say like a parent, like a paternal figure, but, a good role model, so to speak.
Yep.
And, in some ways you are being an older brother. And, that's why a lot of, commanding officers, particularly when they get to the colonel and general level, are just called the old man by people. Some of them are old enough to be their parents, that sort of thing. So it is something that you have to work with. Like when I was, 30, about to have my, first kid, and I'm in charge of 150 soldiers, and like I got 18, 19-year-old kids right out of college, or excuse me, right out of high school. I'm 12, 13 years older than them, but I'm also like almost a generation of experience older than them.
Yeah.
I've already been to war. I'm married. I have a family and these are like kids so wet behind the ears that they still wear sponges in their hats. So this is the stuff that Picard is trying to figure out while also being very uncomfortable with kids who apparently aren't super geniuses like Wesley Crusher.
Right. And that was the thing. And we got to see him use his technical know-how to try to reactivate the turbo lift that they're stuck on. And then he can't do it. So he says, there's some fiber optics in this panel over here. Can you pull that out? We're going to have to get ourselves out of here. And we'll have
then
to
he's about ready to self-sacrifice, but then his second in command is like, we all go as a crew. And he's like,
yeah,
well, I can't argue with that.
Yeah, it was a good thing too, because those kids would have been dead. So, because
what you start to see though is some pride, like some pride. You see these little smirks from Picard as these kids start rising to the challenge, and they do. They have to. And he takes a more, I guess, a more warm and open-handed approach with these kids. Not that Picard was ever what you might consider a harsh disciplinarian, but he, particularly in the early seasons, was not as warm and whatnot as he becomes later on. This, I think, helps him grow as well as a character. But, then you also have Troy, who's on the bridge. She's actually the highest ranking person on the bridge. And her only two, reliable people on the bridge are an ensign who's been in prison and a career non-commissioned officer who may be the most important man in Starfleet history.
Maybe is.
But who clearly is right now in the midst of the proto he must suffer.
Yeah. It's true. And then so there's the power dynamic where Ro wants to take charge and she's frustrated.
But O'Brien, ever being the solid non-commissioned officer, is like, no offense, Lieutenant, but the doc here outranks you.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, not only does the psychiatrist outrank you, she outranks you by a lot.
Yeah. She's like
don't let the jumpsuit fool you.
She's a lieutenant commander, right? Senior?
She is. She's a lieutenant commander.
Not JG.
No, a lieutenant commander is different than a lieutenant JG.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, she's a lieutenant commander.
Right.
Which you see when she wears that scant in Encounter at Farpoint.
That's right.
She has the pips, and then you don't see her in a uniform again until is this season 6?
This is season 5.
Right. Right. Because this is only like 2 episodes or so after. This is like the next episode after Ensign Rowe.
Yeah.
Yeah, or it's like a couple of episodes after Ensign Rowe. So like Rowe, we're still getting to learn her, but the kind of borderline abrasive personality that she has, particularly early.
Oh, and she's downright cold. She's like convinced that everyone in the battle section's dead, and that they need to
separate the saucer.
And O'Brien's like, well, there could be thousands of people, hundreds of people down there. That's damn cold-hearted.
I know they had some good back and forth. I like seeing it because, like, I think this is the only real time O'Brien and Rowe interact with each other in these series. It's kind of neat to see these two, who eventually become key supporting actors of the Next Generation. O'Brien already has been interact. It's indeed dynamic. And then, of course, you have Riker and Data trying to figure out how to get to engineering, which, of course, doesn't have its chief engineer who's locked in a cargo bay with the doctor with radioactive material about to kill them. And so their plan is to hold on to something really tight and then open the airlock.
Yep.
And And then once all the fire is put out, somehow keep consciousness enough to go back and repressurize the bay doors. And they
Which
do
is
that.
done.
And this is all after Crusher tries to get Shorty to sing and dance.
Yeah. And Data sacrifices himself to stop I don't know, is this a plasma charge or something?
So they try to get to engineering, and they're going through the Jeffries tubes, and like there's like this big energy like discharge going on, and Data's like, well, my body can absorb this. He's like, but my brain can't, so you got to take off my head.
Yeah.
This is just another example of there is the humor of, Brent Spiner having several times his head taken off and talking to somebody. It's a little weird.
Yeah, a little bit. And then this scene where Worf is helping Keiko, and he's like, this wasn't what was in the simulation. And she's in the middle of a contraction and she screams, I'm sorry. That was one of the few genuine like comedic moments where
the best line of the entire episode. I believe she looks like Chief O'Brien.
Yeah, that was good too. Yeah, and you know what the funny part in all of this is? We actually don't see them put the ship back online. We see them fix their immediate issues, and then at the end, time jump. Oh, we were able to get the ship up and running. No big deal. Like, but for that time period, like they had other things to worry about other than getting the ship back up and running. There was no other anomaly.
They make emergency repairs, and they make emergency repairs and make their way back to the nearest star base to get everything squared away.
Yeah.
But it has all the fascinating piece, like
here we go.
The power struggle on the bridge. You have the gotta make it to get to the plans, because like they're literally like this close from separating the saucer and leaving. The engineering people who are in the engineering section, which include Riker and Data, who have gone down levels into the section. So you're at risk of losing like half your main cast with this maneuver, because it's going to go, but it's pretty wild, but it's also pretty entertaining, and everybody at the end has something to look like. Picard has got this new appreciation for these kids and then you've got O'Brien and Keiko with this family, and Ro begrudgingly, giving some props to Deanna for some of her decisions. And, there's some growth there. Clearly it gives birth to another recurring character in Molly O'Brien.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
And you get some good character development with some supporting characters, and they end it very cute with, Picard telling, his number one to set course for the nearest star base, and the young woman and Riker both go, "Aye, Captain." Yeah. And gets one of those famous Will Riker big smiles. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, that was good. I like it. That's a good cute ending. And then there's the Enterprise back up and running. So
yeah, the HD Enterprise, very nice.
Yeah, it's pretty. Like the HD of TNG is it's super pretty.
Yeah.
So that was that. One you want to bring up? I got another. I got another one. If you don't,
so here's a good. No, I have several.
Good.
One that's a little off the beaten path, but it's a great episode. It's called Out of Gas from Firefly.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, God, I don't remember that one, but I will find out.
After Serenity suffers a catastrophe that leaves the crew with only hours of oxygen, it's also one of those ones that does the flashbacks to like how Mal gets his early crew together, how he finds Serenity, and it goes back and forth. But basically, en route to one of their, rim planets that they try to help with, to get these, one of the planets that they go to do business, particularly out in the rim that's away from the Alliance. It's Simon's birthday. They're having a party, and then a compression coil blows out, which, of course, not only disables the ship, but it injures Zoe severely. Engines offline, life support's failing, and Kaylee is telling them that backup systems were disabled as well, so they only have a few hours of oxygen left. So Mal orders the crew to divide up into two parts and get into their shuttles and go in opposite directions, hopefully, expanding their ability to not only be seen, but, reach out with with additional distress beacons, right?
Yeah.
He stays behind, hoping, that someone will come along. His distress signal, and he's kind of unwilling to leave Serenity anyway. A salvage ship shows up eventually, makes contact. Mal's like, hey, we can trade, anything you want from the cargo hold, for this new whatever. But they're not just salvagers; they're also pirates too.
Right.
This is kind of like, they're like, oh, you're the only guy here. Oh, okay. So instead of trading here, let's just shoot you and take your ship. So they do. They shoot him and try to take it over. Mal, however, isn't killed, pulls a gun, and manages to get these guys to drop the piece and disappear, right, and get back off the ship. They're like, all right, whatever. We'll just come back anyway, like when you're dead, right? But he's trying to fix the ship himself, right? But he's losing blood fast. He's staggering down, to the engine room. Tries to get the part installed and start the engine. He does, just before the oxygen runs out, but then he passes out before he can hit the recall button. And of course, it fades to black, but then he wakes up, everybody's back. He's, of course, he's getting some of Wash's blood because they get blood transfusion. That must be fun. It's like the episode where Jerry needed blood and he got it from Kramer, and he's like,
Yeah.
Hey buddy, hey buddy, hey
Hey,
buddy.
but that's pure Cosmo, Kramer, running right through you. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they and of course Zoe's also okay. She's still hurt, but they're all kind of lying there in the infirmary. But she basically said, hey, yeah, I guess Zoe let them know that she told the crew to turn back around, which was, of course, in disobedience to Mal's orders. And Zoe very rarely does that, but
Oh yeah.
they come back, and Book's there kind of keeping an eye on. But it's kind of a neat thing. They intersperse this with, Mal and Zoe, we know from the pilot, fought in the war against the Alliance together with the Browncoats. But it kind of goes back and forth on how, they obtain Serenity. He convinces Zoe to sign on. They hire Wash, who Zoe's not really, he doesn't really think he's doesn't like him at first. He's got a shitty mustache, which even adds to the comicalness.
Yeah.
And he talks about getting the best engineer, and this I don't know, hipster dude. Then brings this, local girl from the spot to fool around, and they're hooking up down in the engine room. And then like she corrects him on a whole bunch of shit when Mal shows up, and he's like, okay, you're hired, and gives this guy the old heave ho. So yeah,
That was
all
good.
the other things, all how they bring it in. And one of my favorite parts too is when he convinces Jane to swap sides. They're like in the middle of a show of like a standoff. And basically by questioning one dude's hygiene and all this others, gets them to swap sides. I love it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I don't have.
But
I was gonna.
it's another example of a breakdown episode.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have anything else? Because there's others.
Yeah, there are others, and you tell me if this makes sense, because this might break the rule of it being in an episode. It started to be a problem at the very end of Battlestar Galactica, where the Galactica itself was beginning to break down due to her age and the wear and tear, and
all the
jumps and stuff. It didn't make itself known right away, but there were telltale signs. Like, if you didn't, I noticed in this season, at the end of season 3 and the beginning of season 4, Galactica felt really dirty and dingy and dark, and it didn't look as clean as it did in the pilot, right?
Of course, it was a museum ship. They were getting ready for it to be a museum. There was a skeleton, basically a little more than a skeleton crew, getting ready to give it a send-off and put it into a museum. Remember in the pilot, they're like breaking shit out of glass housing to get the ship back up and running when the war breaks out. So it's you're right. And I mean, they have the stranded episodes where like the chief and Callie are stranded on one of these planets with Baltar and Sam Witwer.
Mm-hmm.
But there was also Starbuck was stranded in one episode, and she like manages to commandeer a downed Cylon Raider and get it started.
Oh, that's right. But there was no room for pilot in it. She had to crawl in, right?
Yeah, and was like breathing through this weird air tube or something because of, I don't know, systems and reasons. They had one in there because it was almost like semi-organic inside.
That's right. That was so gross because you saw the organics and it's like, oh. I mean, creative, well done.
Yeah.
Just, oh boy, that's a tough putt right there.
Yeah. I just can't remember a breakdown episode enough to look it up, but I think there is one. There's got to be some ship broke down somewhere.
I mean, they had to abandon ships because they weren't FTL.
Right. That was in the pilot, and
oh man, I don't know.
But there's enough. I mean, it's almost like the entire series is like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was super serial too. So I mean, they had episodic stories, but it was more serialized than typical. So
yeah, of course.
But that's why I was thinking if it broke the mold of what we were talking about, breakdown episodes, So,
well, here's one for you.
Yeah,
you got the Mandalorian. So before we get to a TV series, let's just go to the granddaddy of them all. Like we said, Empire Strikes Back. The hyperdrive won't work, so they have to go into the asteroid to avoid the Imperials. They hide in the asteroid. Turns out they're inside a worm, and they have to giant space slug, and they have to like rocket out of there.
They're on the run from the Empire. Yeah,
right. They hide on a Star Destroyer and like drift away in the trash, and then they take off heading for Bespin to try to get the hyperdrive repaired so they can get away from there. And But that's basically like part of the plot of the movie is a breakdown of the Millennium Falcon. They can't truly escape. They're like doing like run and hide almost.
Yeah, they cling to the back of a Star Destroyer.
Right.
Brilliant move, by the way. I really liked that, and that's not something you normally see. You got to see this ship sitting on the back of another ship, hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
And that
No
was
ship
a
that
fun
small has a
visual.
cloaking device.
Yeah. Which means to tell me that a cloaking device requires a ton of energy.
They had an episode where they had a cloaked ship in the Clone Wars.
Oh, did they? I don't remember.
Mhm.
And but yeah, and and that was the plot. They got stuck on Bespin because they couldn't go anywhere, and Lando owed him a favor, and then that's where the Empire captures Han,
Mhm.
and they use Han to make sure that the Corbomite, no,
Carbonite.
Corbomite's the Corbomite maneuver.
Yeah.
Watching that as a kid, I didn't realize how much the fact that the Millennium Falcon was such an integral plot device for that. And then they go ahead and what is it in The Rise of Skywalker? Just blow that whole idea out of the water. The ship's falling apart, but it's doing all the jumps that it needs to. Things are on fire, and they're able to fix it, and like they land on the on the rebel base, and things are on fire on the Millennium Falcon, and was it
Always.
and what's his name? Poe goes, it'll be fine. We'll get it back up and running. And in the next scene, it's up and running. It took a whole movie to fix that damn thing for much less.
Yeah. Yeah, there was that. So that was maybe the most famous one, but I'm going to give you two that are really good. Okay.
Any good visuals?
Mandalorian season 2, episode 2, chapter 10, The Passenger, when he agrees to take the frog lady from Tatooine to Trask.
Oh God.
That's
a scary episode.
This is the famous episode where they're trying to evade X-Wing fighters, and they crash on an icy planet because he's wanted by the New Republic. They crash. The Mandalorian's trying to fix the ship. Grogu kind of wanders around and instead of
eating her babies,
he keeps eating the eggs, and then he wanders around outside and stumbles upon other eggs, which he opens up and starts eating. And turns out, he unleashes a bunch of spider-like creatures who
which
go
we've
on
seen
to
in Rebels, right?
We've seen a version
of them in Rebels.
I'm not entirely sure these are the same type, but they're close enough.
I don't want this picture. Oh my God.
That's a good picture right there. No one's going to object to Grogu. So they're not only they crash, they can't get away, but now they're being overrun by these spiders, and they're fighting them off. And it looks like it's about done until these X-Wings show up and Dave Filoni saves them.
Dave Filoni.
He was one of the pilots.
He was one. Yeah, I forgot about that.
It was him and Carson Teva, I think, was the other pilot.
Yeah, Carson Teva. Didn't they land? They landed, right?
They landed. I think they used some of their weapons, and then they're out there with blaster rifles, just hosing these things down.
Oh God, that's got eyes. Oh God,
I told you, leave it on Grogu.
I need to see Carson Teva. I'll do it this way. Someone just decided to screen grab everything. Almost
Yep. Go
100 of
back.
these
Go back. Go
pictures
back. Up. 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 Keep going.
here.
Well, that's yeah. And then you go back. Keep going. There's the X-wings. There's Brendan Fraser. There's Carson Teva.
Brendan Fraser.
Yep.
Actually, that movie looks interesting. I might be interested in seeing that. But anyway.
But yeah, so they're, he's Mando's like, could you help us patch our ship? He's like, why don't you go ahead and fix this transponder shit? And because and because he not only trapped his accomplices but tried to save the life of the Republic officer, they kind of let the warrant go, gave him a warning. Mando basically does enough to seal the cockpit, and they all take off and limp to Trask, and they're still technically broken down for the next couple of episodes too.
Yeah.
He gets enough repairs at the planet of Trask after a whole bunch of issues. But then it's like another episode when they finally limp to Navarro, where Grief Karga gets it fully repaired.
Yeah.
But it takes a while.
Oh my God! Yes, it does. Yes,
that was a good episode.
And yeah, so they're on the
next episode is the heiress
where we see
they're on Trask with Bo-Katan, where you see her in live action for the first time.
But let's just pull her up since we were talking about Battlestar for a second.
I'm gonna go ahead. Oh well, that's not a terrible idea. I mean, there she is, right there.
Yeah, there it is.
They gave her a better wig in subsequent seasons.
Yeah, but still. Anyway, you were about to say.
So, the very first arc of the Clone Wars season 1 was what they call the Malevolence arc. They have an opening episode where Yoda is hiding, being hunted by Asajj Ventress, but he just embarrasses her. And this is where you actually start to see a little bit of personality. You're starting to see more personality from the various clones, where Yoda actually encourages this clone survivors with him to use their own distinct personalities and their traits, as they're all saying, well, we all look alike. And Yoda tells them, in the Force, they all are different and independent. They're not all the same in the Force. So that was a really
first episode.
After the movie, this is the first episode, right? And
Ambush.
But the next 3 episodes are the Malevolence arc, where this super weapon, which basically is like a giant ion cannon that shoots out of the side, broadside style of a separatist cruiser that wipes out all energy and takes out shielding and weapons and engines and everything, leaves ships sitting ducks, and it ambushes a Republic fleet under Plo Koon, and Plo and some of his clones are stuck in escape pods, and they're floating there, hoping for rescue. But the clones are starting to despair, because not only do they think no one's going to come for them because they're just clones, but now there's also hunter droids that are coming through and cracking open escape pods and killing clone survivors. And there's another great line, and another reason why people really grew to like Plo Koon in the series. And he's Dave Filoni's favorite, so that's why he got some cool lines. But he's in this escape pod with a bunch of clones, and they're like, nobody's coming for us, sir. We're just clones. And, we're meant to be expendable. And Plo Koon just looks at him and goes, not to me. And he basically wills these guys back to surviving.
Nice.
These guys with him, you know. I think one of them I think Wolf is one of them because Wolf was his guy. But, you know, they eventually, I believe, get rescued by Anakin and Ahsoka in the Twilight, that weird ship they got in the movie that they eventually ditched after like season 2. I think it got blown up, but they got rid of it.
Well,
This is where they're having a
preparing.
conversation. Yep.
Yeah.
And then, see, that's the Malevolence. There's the Twilight ducking through it off to the rescue. But yeah.
Yeah. There it is.
It was a great way to really introduce Plo Koon to the wider audience, you know. It's like that was a great line. That's a good
way not to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It showed he valued life.
Yep.
And he valued duty.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and he was, you know, that if you look in the lore of Star Wars, right, you know, you have Jedi like Obi-Wan and Anakin who were well liked by their clones, treated their clones with respect, and you have others who didn't trust or like clones, like Quinlan Vos didn't really like clones. He wasn't like a super douche to them, but he didn't really like clones. You have others like Pong Krell who chose to use clones as cannon fodder. But it's good when you see these other Jedi who treat their clones with respect, which is another reason why the tragedy of the clones is one of the most heartbreaking things in all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Is how close you see those relationships get. And then when the clones, one of the things I did like was the original stories, like they started having the Clone Wars, was like the clones were just given these orders that they followed. They didn't have the inhibitor chip, which it would make you wonder after watching several seasons of how a guy as loyal as as Cody or Rex would turn on their Jedi without the slightest question, right? So
yeah,
it gives it. They lose some agency, but they also gain more sympathy because it's not in their control. But Star Wars has done a pretty good job of, you know, doing these breakdown episodes or chunks of movies.
I gotta say, the aesthetics of this from a 2008 show where CGI shows were not very strong. I mean, CGI was used in everything, right? But I mean, as a TV show, you could tell the quality of the animation hasn't gotten as good as it is now. But I got to admire the textures on these. I mean, look at this texturing right here.
It was a little chunky at the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, look at this. Look at this design quality and
oh yeah, it was good. It just, I was a little curious because look at how blocky these guys are at the beginning.
It's true. Yeah.
Like the clone has a cinder block for a head, right? And then you show that later in the series and just how more nuanced even these familiar faces become, right?
Yeah. No, it's true.
That's beside the point, right? Oh, see, this is, you can see the early look at how almost like carved out of like modeling clay Anakin looks, particularly the hair. The hair was a little hard to watch in some of the earlier episodes. Like guys with short hair did well, bald guys did well, aliens did well, human hair not so good.
Looked a little plasticky. They remind me of the Duracell family. Remember the Duracell family?
Yeah, that was so weird.
But I'm bringing that thing up.
When you get to the later seasons, like season 6, season 7, or even season as early as like season 5, the animation just got so much better. And like you see like Obi-Wan's hair blowing in the wind, and then like people with like wisps of hair hanging down. It gets just so much better. By the Bad Batch and Tales of the Tales series, it's so good. And while you pull up the Duracell, I'm going to give you one more real good one, an outlier, and it's going to sound not quite what you expect. This is called whoa, where is it? I just lost it. Okay, A Distant Star, episode 4 of Babylon 5's second season.
Okay.
Okay.
Hold on. Babylon 5.
This one was written by DC Fontana.
Really?
Yep. It has a very Star Trek feel to it. So
Well, she basically gave Star Trek its flavor.
She did. I think she gave it some heart too. So this episode starts with this huge, almost like another space station, but it's an Explorer class starship. You know,
I remember this now. Yeah.
The Explorer class starship is a Babylon 5 creation, an Explorer ship. They're huge. They're like 2 miles long or something like that. And they're designed to go out on the deep rim for
years,
missions of 5 years at a time, kind of like an Enterprise, like the Enterprise, the 5-year mission. And they're supposed to do first contact, mapping missions, building jump gates to the outer edges. They start working with other, they'll work with other races, they'll conduct trade, but basically they're in some ways, maybe minus the weapon systems, but this is what the design of the old Constitution class, the Galaxy class starships were supposed to be, right? Far be away from star bases, creating, new maps to new, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. And then of course they're also building, the gateway to the superhighway, so that people can go out that far and do trades and do like what Lower Decks showed, second contact, diplomatic, where they, and that's one of the things I did love about Lower Decks too, though, was that they actually made these things canon, and it made it more like, oh yeah, why would we just disappear forever and nobody come back and follow up, right?
No, it's true. It's true. Let's just explore. I'm sorry. I've been.
It's okay.
I gotta find the Explorer ship. It's bound to be here.
The Explorer class ship is commanded by Captain Jack Maynard, who is Sheridan's good friend and mentor, right? Look at how big that thing is.
Yeah.
That's a starship. It's probably half the length, or maybe 2/3 the length of B5. Clearly not as, packed. You can see all the, how thin it is. And that's a very unwieldy ship for combat. But this is designed to go out and when they have some good views, you can see big parts of what you would recognize as chunks of jump gates, put on different parts of the ship.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So it's neat. This was a really fun episode. It was a very good adventure type episode.
Well, and you got to get to the point where it breaks down. Right. But what was fun at the very beginning was when Sheridan makes the comment about, take a good look, everyone. This is probably the only time you'll ever see an Explorer class ship.
Yeah, because there's only a handful, and they spend all their time out on the rim, and they're designed to operate out on the rim for 10 to 20 years.
Yep.
That's what it's designed for. It's very rare that they need to come back. Yeah, see, that's it coming into B5, which was cool. I enjoyed that. And I don't think you ever see an Explorer class ship again until Crusade.
Which would make sense.
But anyway, so after coming in to pick up, I think, more parts and get some, resupply at B5, and Sheridan and Maynard catch up. They swap some stories. They threaten to, release other stories about each other and agree to never mind. The stuff that good old friends do. Great camaraderie there. And then the ship departs, and you start to hear a little bit about how ships operate in hyperspace. There's beacons placed at various points so that you can follow these guided maps to specific jump gates and points. So they're almost like navigational beacons in hyperspace. And some malfunction happens aboard the ship that causes it to lose power, and it starts drifting off the beacon. And if you get too far away from the beacon, then you can't home in on it and get back on track. And then people just get lost in hyperspace forever. Right. And they do get a message to Babylon 5. But again, Babylon 5 at this point, it's kind of like Deep Space Nine in the early seasons. They don't have a starship. They don't have something capable. Like if Sheridan had his ship, the Agamemnon, he could roll out and possibly get there and be more effective. But he doesn't. So they come up with an idea to use his Star Fury squadrons to go and do a telescoping relay where they'll go out, the ship will go in, another fighter will go out, and then they'll they'll get in line, and then they'll just start slowly progressing forward, all the ships.
They become their own beacons.
Right, sending their own, trying to keep in, communication with the other ships, with the other fighters.
It's actually a pretty smart solution.
Right. It was a good solution. And, this was like one of the most daring rescues like in history, right? That no one had ever drifted that far off the beacon and never been recovered.
Right.
And they did. And that included the last two ships, the last two fighters, the squadron commander, this guy named Gallus, who this is his only episode, who gets killed by the appearance of a shadow ship, which comes out of nowhere.
No, it's not the first time we see a shadow ship.
But it's one of the few times that we see him in proximity.
Kind of gave it away at the beginning here.
Well, it only does, but like Earth Force hasn't figured this out yet.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Like we see them in the end of, I think it was season 1 in that last episode where Londo has Morden, works with Morden to eliminate a Narn colony.
Yeah, that's right.
So these have popped up a couple of times, but no one really knows anything about them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think they've gotten a name yet.
No, we see that later on in the season when Delenn tells us who they are.
Right. But so here, so the last two ships are Gallus and this guy Keffer, who was, according to JMS, was like, they wanted more action. So they're like, here, you're going to have a fighter pilot.
Yeah.
And JMS is like, I really don't want this guy crammed down my throat. He was in the credits for every episode, but he was really in only like a half a dozen. And for the most part, he really only had like major parts in like 3 or 4 episodes. And this was one. And his ship gets disabled, and he is trying to figure out how to direct the Cortez, this explorer ship, back to the beacon. And he's kind of like spinning, right? And he's just kind of, the ship is just kind of like turning over, and he realizes he's kind of faced the right direction, and he starts firing his weapon systems. And in the direction of where it's supposed to go. And the Cortez locks onto him and kind of understands what he's doing. But again, this is stuff without tractor beams. And so they're not able to really figure it out. But the Cortez, once it gets back online and it starts following this line of the blasters, and he then clearly they link up with the other fighters and they start heading back into B5 space. Somehow or whatever, Keffer's able to get his ship back under control, and it kind of limps back so he doesn't float off down the gravity well in hyperspace either. And kind of is like the last ship that comes back. Like Sheridan's like waiting in CNC, like there's got to be more, and one more comes back. But it was a neat episode. You have a starship breakdown in a spot. You have to have a creative way of rescuing. It was a good episode, and it was an interesting tonal shift from some of the light moments at the beginning of the episode with the humor and the camaraderie to the crisis. But it was a good story.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's one of the few that I remember very well from. Well, it's actually, that's not true. I remember the ones that I watched in the 90s. Much better than the ones I've watched most recently that I didn't see in the 90s, which is
fair.
Funny.
That was one I did watch in the 90s that I enjoyed, and it's one I like to rewatch because it was, it was still kind of episodic, but it had the keys to the ongoing plot, but there was some still, the hope, and getting to see that, especially when you first start watching and they bring Sheridan and this helps you learn more about Sheridan.
Yeah. No.
And you have, I would have liked to have seen Captain Maynard again. He was a pretty fun guy. Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was a guy you kind of wanted to see more of.
Was he the bailiff in My Cousin Vinny, the sheriff?
He was not the sheriff.
The
sheriff was Bruce McGill.
Okay, thank you.
Who did do a good guest spot in season 3 when B5
of course
has a breakdown.
It's just right out of the file in your brain.
Yeah, very, very enjoyable. But yeah, this was a good episode. It was another one of those disaster breakdown type episodes.
I've got one that I think is going to. I see. Rules are made to be broken, but we're coming up on the end here, so
sure.
This is at the very beginning. Kablam!
Oh no, this is perfect. This is perfect of Endgame.
Yep, the very beginning of Endgame.
The ship's adrift. They're about to run out of oxygen. Hey, I pulled Empire. If we can pull Empire, this works too.
Yeah, but I mean, they're adrift for like 21 days or something, and
yeah,
they're doing everything they can. You see Nebula and Stark working, next to each other, trying to drill, pulling things apart and welding things together, and doing everything they can to. The mechanics of spaceflight are still sketchy in the Marvel world. There's like jump points, but not. But yes,
it kind of depends, I think, on who's making the movie.
It really does. I mean, because it was a big plot point in Captain Marvel, who comes out and saves the day, because she could just find them, willy nilly. But they were stranded post snap for 21 days or a month or something.
Yeah, close to a month, something like that.
Yeah.
They ran out of food, and now they're about to run out of oxygen.
Yep.
And you get Tony recording a message for Pepper in his helmet. I actually like the scene of him and Nebula playing paper football.
That
Because
was good.
you could clearly see Nebula's never won
No,
anything.
Gamora always beat her.
Gamora did always beat her. It wasn't so. In some ways, I think Tony kind of figured that out about her,
Mm-hmm.
and she won. And he's like, "See, you won. Do you want to play again?" And she's like, "Yes, yes, I do. I've never. It's like I've never won anything. I would like to keep playing." But it was a very kind of neat moment of two people who literally have very, who on the surface look like they may not have much in common, but maybe actually do, coming together to work. And it was a good scene. I mean, this whole thing, and Tony kind of gets into one of the captain's chairs and is basically resigned to death when all of a sudden this flame in space shows up.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. There are 1,200 photos.
Oh, good. Good luck.
I know.
There's a good picture of Tony right there. Right there, looking kind of, right
here?
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just also showing just how bleak it is. He's more gaunt. He's, disheveled.
His eyes are yellowed.
Yeah.
And then let's see. I really want to find that freaking shot of, well, here they are working together. This is a good shot. I like this. This is what we'll end it on. This is good. Well, was it the batteries or the fuel cells were cracked in the battle with Thanos or something?
Something like that. It's really a moot point. It's just another stranded in space thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And Captain Marvel finds them and then carries them on her back all the way back to Earth.
And she can haul. We all see she can haul.
We can. We can. See, this is when they're being brought back, and definitely the movie opens up pretty darn bleak, I gotta say. I mean,
well,
they lost.
The previous one ended bleak, so
yeah. Definitely was one of those things. And I remember after they kill Thanos, they do the time jump 5 years later, and the gasp in the theater, like that I was in. I was expecting the time jump, by the way. Rumors were around that there was a time jump, and I wasn't surprised by that. But
I thought it might have been a year. I did not expect them to go 5.
Yeah.
Because if they did a year, right, because they were pretty good for that time of each year being roughly current, right? So, like, the Battle of Wakanda happened in, like, 2018, right?
Yep.
It was another year until Endgame came out. I thought they'd give you a year time jump. No, they put it all the way to 2023.
Yeah.
and then like after that, like almost every movie for like 3 years movie and TV show took place in 2023.
Yeah.
It was almost like they were waiting for
they're trying to catch up.
Trying to catch up.
No, it's true. It's true. It's so true. Good Lord. So, but yeah, that was a good one. Thank you for turning my pain into a subject matter. So,
well, first off, I appreciate your willingness to talk about it, and it was not intended to, embarrass you.
No, it didn't.
But it did trigger something. That's why I asked if you would be interested. But this is a trope of
it absolutely is
a lot of science fiction. I mean, it's like Gilligan's Island, right?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's absolutely true.
But I think we nailed some really good episodes.
We really did.
We really didn't do anything involving any other Star Trek series.
Oh my God, you're right. Voyager's Year from Hell.
But the ship still was moving.
It was
Most of it.
true.
Yeah.
But it was diminished.
Right.
But they were on their heels that whole year.
But there were there had to be half a dozen episodes where Voyager was like stranded in space. Enterprise had some, like there was an episode during the Xindi arc where they lost some sort of. It was like, in season 3 where Archer tried to barter for parts so they could get like up to warp 5, and then
they just stole a warp coil.
Yeah, they stole a warp coil. They, in order to kind of assuage and pretend it was a trade, he did beam some stuff over to them, but he definitely stranded them like light years from home.
Yeah.
He even calls himself out on it, in his report, his after action report when he gets back. One thing I did start to like about a few things as you progress through Star Trek later on is the things that they did do better at carrying from season to season, or even series to series, as when we find out that Keiko is pregnant again in Deep Space Nine. And like O'Brien is like, she's like, oh, Keiko's going to have a baby. And Worf's like, what, now? He's like looking around, like looking for a place to hide. It's like,
I forgot about that. That's true, though.
O'Brien is like, no. She's like, in like 6 months. He's like, oh, yeah, Commander Worf delivered Molly. Like, oh. And Bashir's like, oh, that's cool. And
how?
Worf's like, I will be. Congratulations, but I will be away at home on Earth visiting my parents.
Yeah,
in like 6 months. he was trying to yoink out of there so fast, but it was a great payoff.
It was.
We're talking
awesome.
Like 4 years later, man.
Was it only 4? God, it was only 4, wasn't it?
I think because it was season 5 of Deep Space Nine.
Season 5, so it would have been like season 9 of TNG. Yeah, that's 4 years. 4, maybe 5.
Yeah, close to it. Yeah, 4 years.
Shit.
Anyway,
there it is.
I think we had a good topic, man. We hit some different spots, not just Star Trek, not just Star Wars. We got B5, we got Battlestar, we got Firefly, Avengers. Yeah, man.
It was good. All because, and we never would have thought to do this, by the way, if it wasn't for a blown head gasket happening 200 miles away from my home.
Well, like I said, I appreciate your willingness to talk it through.
Yeah, it was good stuff. So on that note, everybody, well, I'll just take us out. Until the next time, you guys keep dreaming. We'll keep working. I am P.S. McKay. So long, everyone.
And I'm DT Cavman. And up here on the high ground, I have all the parts you need to keep your vehicles going.
Nice. Those Sci-Fi Guys is an independent broadcast by Alpha Site Productions, produced by DT Cabman and P.S. McKay. Music by Ocean by Music by Aiden under Creative Commons license. For more information on upcoming episodes, follow P.S. McKay on X at P.S. McKay or go to thosesci-fi-guys.com for past episode information. You can find us on Apple, Rumble, YouTube, and Spotify. And don't forget to leave a like and a comment to let us know how we're doing on Facebook.